Welcome to the Thriving Mayor Show. Conversations with people making the biggest difference in the quality of living in our towns and cities, including former and current mayors and other special guests. Each interview features their wisdom, unique perspective, stories, and experiences shared in a casual conversation. Join us and comment on social media as we meet another leader in the life of our urban places. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Hubicki, the host of the Thriving Mayor Show. It's September 1st, 2021, and this is our 30th episode and the first of our new rebranded and revamped format. I'm super excited today to have the Mayor of King Township in Ontario, Steve Pellegrini, as a guest on the show. Hello, Steve. How are you today?
I'm absolutely spectacular, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Steve, just as to start the show off, I'll begin the episode by honoring the land and the Indigenous peoples who've lived here from the beginning. I'm grateful for the opportunity to live here and thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land in the Bay of Quinte for thousands of years. In particular, I honor the ancestors of the land, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. This territory is covered by the 1783 Crawford Purchase. I'd also just like to mention to everyone that this show has been pre-recorded, and while we'll be airing it September 1st, and I'll be on live, and perhaps Steve can attend as well, we always welcome social media comments through Facebook or YouTube during the show or afterwards. I do my very best to track those comments and give some responses. Very quick introduction to Steve. Steve is the mayor of King Township, is also King's representative on York Regional Council. He was sworn into office in 2010 and is now serving his third consecutive term. In addition to his continuing service in King, Steve worked for over 35 years in the municipal sector, retiring as a manager of the Project Management Office, the PMO, not to be confused with the Prime Minister's office. He strongly believes in giving back and has been involved in many boards of his community, including in the areas of heritage, transportation, communications, housing, health, conservation authority, agriculture and drainage, infrastructure, policing, parks and rec, the arts, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Steve does it all. Steve also holds a number of honorary positions, such as honorary governor of the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair, honorary chair of King Township Food Bank, and the honorary chair of the Art Society of King. Steve and his wife Barbara have 5 children: Stephanie, Ashley, Emmett, David, and Joseph, and I understand a grandbaby on the way. Congratulations. Yep. And in his spare time, Steve also coached baseball, soccer, and hockey as his children move through their childhoods. Amazing, amazing. Such a powerful bio, Steve, and the breadth of area that you get involved in the community, both at King and obviously elsewhere in Ontario is really impressive.
I believe, and King was built on the backs of volunteers. We were offside. We were talking about King, and many of the facilities in King were actually built by either the Lions clubs or volunteers like that.
Yeah.
And today my tagline for everything I say is get involved, volunteer, and shop local. And that's what makes a successful community. And when people tell me they're too busy, I kind of say, how about you check out what I do, and you'll find that there's lots of time to give back to your community.
Yeah, and that's also super important for King because, as I understand it, it's the largest geographical municipality in York, but has the smallest population. So being local, volunteering, contributing, and shopping locally, super important.
Extremely important. We had talked about how King is the largest. We have 4 basic villages. We have King City, Nobleton, Schomberg, and Ansnerveld. So within that, we have the smallest population in York Region with less than 30,000 people. But we have 4 libraries. We have 3 recreation complexes. So a lot of infrastructure for such a small municipality.
Wow, and that must be super challenging for mayor and council, but also the administration, is how to take care of that, where to prioritize finances, and I think we'll get into that a little bit, because that's a really unique challenge that you face up at King. And speaking of your four villages, I understand there's a number of hamlets as well at King Township, which has some really unique names.
There are. I on my chain of office, the little medallions have the names, and there's 10 of them there.
Yeah.
And many people know, they've heard of Kettleby or Snowball or Lloydtown, Lasky, Pottageville, but the one that they don't know, I say, is the strangest of all.
Yeah.
It's called Grange, and
Yeah.
it's a small little hamlet that was formed, back in the 1800s. But it's a beautiful community of communities.
Yeah, I think Snowball is also a really unique name for a village, and you got to think, like, how way back when it was named, how they came up with a name like Snowball.
It's interesting how the names have come. And one thing, so I run, obviously, golf tournaments and arts events, and the funds from that go directly back into the community. And one of the things we're doing is we've never had a full history of King. So between the Historical Society and my golf foundation, we've been able to pay for a historian to write the history of King, so that we can get some of these stories.
Yeah.
King City actually was never called King City. It was actually called Springwater.
Okay.
Or Spring Hill, sorry. But there was another Spring Hill on the rail line. So because there was already one existing, they said, oh, well, that stops in King Township, so just call it the King City stop. And King City stuck. And that's how that settlement area is called King City. It was really called Spring Hill.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that'll be exciting to get that book then, and hopefully there'll be lots of old images and sketches and renderings and things like that in it as well. There was on your gallery page on your website, stevepellegrini.com. There's I was just scrolling through some of your photos over the last 10 years being mayor, and some of my favorite ones were Ice Mayor. And just for the viewers, Steve was with a figure skater dressed up in pretty formal attire with a top hat and skates on, and then just the title is Ice Mayor. So I'm wondering what's the story behind that one?
That was the yearly big ice capades that they do, and they had done it on Alice or now I've lost one where the yellow brick road. What's that one?
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, and I was the mayor of Munchkinville. So they dragged me out, and that was you got to see Alice skating around there.
Oh, that was Alice. Oh, okay. Oh, these were cool. Another one that I saw that I really liked too, although it was the wrong team, was Stanley Steve.
So King Township has been blessed with incredible professional athletes. In fact, recently the Olympics, Rosie McClellan did her fourth appearance. She finished fourth, and we are extremely proud of Rosie. But we've had a number of NHL players come out of King, and many of them have won the Stanley Cup. So even though, I'm a Leaf fan, if someone's bringing the Stanley Cup from Chicago, I'm a Chicago fan.
Yeah. And who was the athlete, the player that you were there with?
So there's been a few. Alex Petrangelo with team, and I was with when the Blackhawks won.
Yeah. Was it Dan somebody?
Yes. I'll get Dan in a second, because there were a couple, because even the coach, Michael Kitchen, was from Schaumburg. So he was there as well. I'm trying to think of Dan and his brother Steve. It'll come to me in a minute, but
Okay.
We did a big parade for them, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
These guys are great with the community, so it's nice.
Yeah, it's no worries not remembering, because the Chicago one a long time ago.
I know.
Not as long ago as the Leafs, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're ever going to see the Leafs win, but yeah, well,
Well,
they're moving in the right direction, I think.
many of them live in King.
Yeah.
We talked about the values of the real estate in King, and that but it's very close to the airport. We're about 20 minutes from the GTA airport at Pearson there,
Yeah.
and even into Toronto, it's very close. So many athletes have. PK Subban, for example, has a house here in King.
Yeah. The Leafs could use him.
Yeah. And you know what?
You heard it here first.
Yeah, his father. So they have a couple houses in a row, and his father is there, and he was a school teacher. And there's quite a story about Carl. But again, these are the types of people that volunteer in the community. Yeah. Carl will come out and he'll help at any event, any hockey event going on, to encourage kids, and it's great to see.
Yeah, that's amazing. So changing gears a little bit, Steve. Obviously, you've been in King quite a long time, but where did you grow up? Where were your family roots? And
so my family roots were from Mississauga. You mentioned my working career. I was born in Toronto, but lived in Mississauga. Had worked for the city of Mississauga and then the city of Brampton.
Yeah.
And I first started my career in politics here in King in 2000. So it's been 21 years. Mm-hmm. I was a municipal councillor for a couple terms before I chose to run for mayor.
Yeah, and growing up in your childhood, were you always sort of one of the kids to take a leadership role and like designing games and like getting people involved and organizing things, or was it sort of an evolution of leadership that you grew into?
It's funny you say that, but always I was the guy that organized, like when we had growing up, when we had hockey teams or, soccer teams or something as young adults, it was me that always would get everybody together to enter into a tournament or whatever. Yeah. And even in university, I ran for the student council back then. And, so to this day, my buddies that I grew up with, I'm the guy that calls and says, okay, guys, let's go and meet for a beer this day.
Yeah.
Like, can't any of you ever pick up the phone and arrange it? No, I'm the guy that does.
Yeah. Yesterday I just had a few minutes, and I called one of my friends from Carleton University, who I hadn't spoken to, I think, in 6 or 7 years. And we were boating on the Rideau this summer, just recently, and boated right past Carleton. And I took a photo there in front of the Arts Tower and called them up, and same thing. It's like I'm sort of the same way as the one person who's usually reaching out, and he was so thankful, like just to thank you for remembering, thank you for reaching out. And he said, let's set up the next call now for 6 years.
Well, it's interesting. These guys, they're always like, we go away snowmobiling and a couple things, but it's me that, okay, guys, it's time. How about these 2 nights? And okay, and they're all in, but somebody's got to take the bull by the horns.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's so rewarding when everybody gets together. Yeah. So you ran in university. Were you successful?
No, I was not in university. We had a slate of people, and unfortunately, we did not get in. But it was the first. Yeah, it was the first experience.
So it's not your fault.
No. No.
Oh, that's awesome. And what university was that?
It was University of Toronto at the Arundel College campus.
Yeah. Awesome. And so then you decided to run for councillor up at King, and I obviously had moved from Mississauga to King and ran. What sort of was triggered the notion in your mind that you wanted to run for council and change your kind of career path in that direction?
Well, there was actually a lovely individual that lived in King. I had put my business card. We had before and after care for our daughters at the time, and for emergency call. So on this bulletin board, we had our business cards. Yeah. And mine at the time said City of Brampton Parks and Recreation. So this incredible individual called me up and said, hey, we need somebody to help run our Parks and Rec committee. So I jumped at it. And within 6 months, a few people had asked me to run, and people I respected in the community. Yeah. And also, having worked for a municipality, sometimes, you sit on the other side of the table and you go, oh my goodness, like what's taking so long? Why can they not just make a decision? Yeah. I'm going to get, if I did it, I'd be able to do these things. So there was a little bit brewing there. And yeah. The timing was, I'll say, it's never right. At that time we had 2 young daughters at home, and I was doing other things as well, but I got approval from the municipality I worked at. There are a few of us that are unique where we work for a municipality and we also run a municipality. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so there were a couple firefighters. There were other people in recreation. I know right now Mayor Virginia Haxon she's the mayor of East Gwillimbury. She used to be the manager of recreation in Newmarket. Oh, okay. Now hers was a little different because she worked in the same region. So I live in York region, but I had worked in Peel region. So I did not have to take a leave from my position, where some people, if you work within that municipality, you need to take a leave. Oh, okay. Interesting. And that first election for council, you were successful. Yeah. And it you know what? It was knocking on doors. Yeah. I went door to door, and again, I keep talking about the King and its uniqueness, but one gentleman that I'll never forget, who turned into being quite a friend for quite some time, was Walter Bick of Bick's Pickles. So he lived in King in a big estate, and I knocked on every door, and he said, I've lived here for 25 years. I don't even know what you stand for, but you made the effort to come. I'll vote for you. And from that point on, we grew quite a relationship. And, I like to just pop in on people. Yeah. Having worked for Hurricane Hazel McCallion, a woman who always campaigned. Yeah. That was kind of the thing. And to be honest, it's the same thing. Every day, just when I'm out driving around, drives my lovely wife nutty. If I see somebody out, I'll stop, I'll get out, say, hi, how are you doing? Any issues? Do you need something? And you know what? People, like, instead of knocking on doors every, couple months before an election. Yeah. Yeah. When people are engaged all the time, the first time I did it after I got elected, I went around in a community where it was a newer community. We've had some new builds, and the people kept asking, "Is there an election?" I said, "No, not for another 3 years. I wanted to welcome you and also let you know that there's been some issues about parking and dogs, and this is how King works, and very, very good to be in touch with your residents." Well, obviously it's working, Steve, because after your first mayoral election, you've been acclaimed the last 2, and like what a rewarding feeling that must be. Yeah, it is. I'm very humbled, and like I said, campaign all the time, and you don't have to do that one blitz ever.
Yeah. So take us back to that one mayoral election campaign where you actually had to work for. I mean, you always have to work for it, but during that campaign, and were there other, like there was obviously one other candidate, but how was it? Did you come from behind? Was it a slam dunk or?
So it was the incumbent mayor,
Yeah.
who had been in office for 18 years.
Okay.
My lovely, again, to be successful, I believe you have to do this as a family. I always ask my family whether they want me to run again.
Amazing.
And to be honest, my wife is my campaign manager. So, we're all in this. And she's an accountant who works for a large company on Bay Street. So it's not like she's got a ton of time on her hands, but
wow,
she does this as well. And we had a very strategic team. And what she did was she was a campaign manager, but basically she had campaign managers for each of those main villages that I talked about. So there was somebody who kind of ran King City, Nobleton, Schomberg, and the Holland Marsh area. And they would reach out to Barbara if they needed me to be there or wherever else. So awesome team that I had.
So you had a good lead up to the election. Bring us down through election night or day and night.
Well, it's always something because an incumbent and the previous incumbent, she worked hard. She did her thing, and I have no malice towards her whatsoever. I just believed it was time for a change, and so it's always difficult running against an incumbent. They usually have the advantage, and we worked hard. And coming in, and there's bits and pieces, and our elections here at the time were very much. We had over a 50% participation rate, which is very high.
That's really high. Yeah.
So the municipal office is where you were watching the results come in. So my lovely wife was down there, and I was with the campaign team at a celebration spot. And because it was a very rural spot at the time, this is 12, 11 years ago, that the internet was spotty. So, and even down there it crashed. So we didn't know, like, at the time. And there's one thing too, is the ballot counting, but then you have all the advanced ballots as well.
Yes.
So you got to make sure there. So we weren't sure. She actually drove up and told me in person that I had won. So
wow,
it was an event. Yeah.
Wow. And was it a close race in the end, or?
Not at that point. No. I had done well. So
yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Have the challenges of being mayor up at King Township over those 3 terms changed appreciably, or it's kind of all the same types of things? I mean, other than COVID, have you noticed that your role or the things that you're focusing on are a lot different over the 3 terms?
No, growth is always an issue. Right. We talked about how we're the largest in land with the least population, less than 30,000. But there's been some growth. From when I was mayor, we went from approximately 19,000 to about 28,000. So there's been considerable growth in these pockets. And the thing is, our official plan dates back 50 years, has growth to 34,900. And in fact, we just updated it for our 2031. And again, we didn't change the population. It's 34,900. And we did not increase the settlement areas by 1 inch.
Oh,
but
good.
People see the new homes, so they think you're pro-growth. And they also don't understand that some of the growth that even council's not excited about they go off to the old OMB or the LPAT now, and it's the province, and that you have to adhere to provincial policies.
Right.
And a lot of people, they don't like change, they don't want change, but sometimes change is thrust upon them, even though it's out of control of the municipality. So a lot of this is education, and I keep talking to staff that we need to be better at our storytelling, to be able to tell people, have a planning 101 course, so that the layperson can truly understand that, no, it's not just the township. There's a regional level, and then there's a provincial level of planning, and that has to do with growth. So people need to understand, but all they see, it's just like anything else. I tell people, anytime there's an issue, it's the mayor's fault, right? And I even say, I said, that's a federal jurisdiction. They go, yeah, but you're supposed to advocate for me. I want you to do it. I said, well, you elect a federal representative. Doesn't matter, Steve. I want you to do it for me.
Yeah.
So we get involved in every level, whether it's provincial, federal. They don't know the difference. They don't even know regional responsibilities. All they know is we're the closest to the people. They see me at the stores, the restaurants, on the soccer field, and they go, hey, I need help with this.
I call being elected mayor the Olympics of politics.
Yeah,
it's the toughest political race, but then when you win, it's the toughest role. You're right there with the people. Yeah. There was George Cuff was on the show, maybe episode 5 or 6, and he was a mayor, and then he's written quite a few books on municipal governance in Canada. And he was saying that one of his friends, after he retired from being mayor, became the MPP, and then he was a member of parliament. And he said after he became an MPP and a member of parliament, you'd think, oh, he's more important. People forgot about him. He'd walk down the street, and when he was the mayor, they'd always stop him. And as the MPP or MP, they'd walk right by. And another funny story was someone gave George this big poster for his wall, and it was like a mob chasing somebody out of town. He said, when the mob's coming after you, make sure you get in front of it so it looks like you're leading the parade.
Yeah, I know George. I teach some courses for AMCTO. So
neat.
I see him there. I have a unique, because I worked for 35 years for a municipality, and I've been in politics for over 20. I can do council staff relations.
Yeah.
Unique perspective.
Oh, it's so super important. That and very, very valuable. Steve, just you've mentioned the official plan update, and there's a few other things that you have led. Your leadership has sort of moved along the process in King. A couple of them I just wanted to touch on. Obviously, I really want to get to the vaccination clinic, but one I'm interested in was the construction of national award-winning parks. And you obviously came from a Parks and Recreation background. Parks and Recreation, I don't know if you recall, but a couple of issues ago in Municipal World magazine, there was a park on the front cover and said, "Parks are our new medicine." And obviously in King, there's a lot of land, but people who still need to have access to public infrastructure, public recreational facilities, and open space. And tell us a little bit about your story there, your passion for that, for Parks and Rec.
Oh, absolutely. I started my working career, I said, in Parks and Recreation for the city of Mississauga, and then later with the city of Brampton. I was on the Sports Ontario governing body, and then later on PRO, which was Parks Rec Ontario. So okay. I sat on those boards as well. And they'll tell you that recreation and parks have 4 benefits to people's lives that people don't understand. So one is obviously the physical. Everybody sees that, yes. But then there's the social aspects, there's the environmental aspects, and there's also the economic aspects. You have a hockey tournament, the economic impact is quite sizable for a community.
Yeah.
And the social one, people don't understand that For every dollar spent in recreation, you save 100. And when people ask me, what's that 100? I say, well, that's the cost of vandalism. That's the cost of policing. That's the cost of courts, the cost of juvies. It's the cost of all these other things that lead.
Yeah.
Giving kids something to do other than causing trouble. And it's the best. I love the way they said best medicine for everybody. And parks are changing. One of our award-winning parks now, we have a fitness stations throughout, so that people, as they walk, they go to a piece of equipment and they do their exercise, and they go or jog, walk, whatever, to the next piece, and it's all ages. It's as you said, it's medicine for people, and it's great to be outside. And it doesn't matter, summer, winter, fall, spring. It's beautiful all times to get out. Just dress appropriately.
Absolutely, and so true. We had I was 31 years a landscape architect working with cities and towns, and we were doing a park up in Brooklyn, north of Whitby. And it was a park. It was a little park called Grass Park, but it's where the kids always congregated, and they were lighting fires and, kind of being mischievous like kids were. Not anything like really bad. And I got an opportunity to propose to the municipality to buy a beautiful wood timber park pavilion that was it was an old CP rail trestle in BC from the old growth redwood, I think. And some of the people said, well, won't it get vandalized and carved up and painted? And we put it in, and those kids, it was so beautiful. They protected it. They came and they hung out there, but they would not let anybody touch it, and they took pride of ownership.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's,
we did that with we put an incredible skate park in. And the first thing we did was we asked any of the kids if they wanted to come and paint the bowl.
Yeah.
So they all painted it, did a fabulous job. So now it doesn't get tagged because nobody wants their works touched. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great, these innovative ideas. And you know what? These kids, they just want to be part of the solution.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. Share with us, Steve, about your vaccination clinic up in King Township.
Yeah, so that's probably one of my proudest moments as mayor. Again, very small municipality. I keep harping on that. In York region of 1.2 million people, 30,000 is really nothing. So it's not that we're overlooked, but there was no way we were going to have a vaccination clinic in King. Vaughan, where there's 360,000 people, or Markham, or even Newmarket, so that people would have to travel to get to it. And I, along with our fire chief, I said, I want to, this is the most important thing that we can do. We got to protect and make sure that the residents of King are getting vaccinated. So I went to York region and I said, okay, all I want are vaccines. And they looked at me and said, no. And I said, no, I'm serious. All I want is vaccines, because public health was already stretched so thin, right? If you had 5 clinics and 100 people, you had 20 working at each clinic. To open up another one, you would just take more people from that clinic. So I said, no, I'm telling you, I will do this all my own. And it was incredible to see. I put out one email or one social media, and I got 250 people willing to volunteer. The communities, so the freezers, a company called 360 donated all 4 freezers. So I had a Pfizer, a Moderna, a Johnson & Johnson, and an AstraZeneca freezer. Wow. An electrician came in and wired it. The company that does social media and branding did all our signs. Like, this was a community-led and then the physicians. Like, this is how the word spread, and people, how can we help, Steve? How can we help? I had an individual, a resident, that provided lunches, and it was from a local, very expensive restaurant every day. And the doctors that volunteered to come there loved it because they were getting these incredible, and everybody that went through the doors, we had volunteers, and it was quite something because these are people for 14 months. We said, stay home, stay home, stay home.
Yeah.
And now I'm saying, please come and hang out with 1,800 people to help do this. And we just closed our doors a couple of weeks ago, and many of them met, and they said this was the most impactful thing they've ever done.
Wow.
These people, I asked them to volunteer 20 hours. Well, I can tell you they did well over 1,000. I had very few. I had a couple younger people that their summer jobs started up, so they had to go work, which was great. But I mean, everybody exceeded my expectations. And, you know, they were supposed to do one shift a week for 4 or 5 hours. We had people coming in 4 times a week, and they loved it. They loved helping. They loved the ability to see and interact with people in a safe manner. And, you know, again, my proudest moment as a mayor, how a community in all areas came in and made this. And we were we were the example. So we were very nimble. We had come up with what they call the hockey model, where instead of people moving, we had doctors on rolling stools. So people sat, they were inoculated, they continued to sit for the 15 minutes, and then that whole line left, and then the next line. So we went from doing about 700, 800 a day to 1,800 a day.
Wow.
And we were the first to do the kind of the dawn to dusk events, and we were doing walk-ins at the point when I made sure, and I called. That was the other thing. You talk about some things that you do, and I didn't do this to campaign. I did this because it was the right thing to do, but I called every employer that I could get hold of and said, send your employees right now. And these guys, they were so thankful. And it was, we're trying to achieve the same goal, get everybody vaccinated. So we'd have Tim Hortons kids walking across the street or McDonald's kids coming across, and we just kept saying, just send them in. We'll fit them in. We'll fit them in. So, because people, it was very difficult to book appointments and things like that. And then we also found that many people had booked, we had about a 30% no-show where people had booked appointments and extra appointments, so there were no show. So we were able to accommodate all these people. So we just kept every business, just send your employees over. So we got everybody inoculated, and we closed because there was nobody coming. Like we got to that point where we were successful in what we were trying to achieve. So ecstatic.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that. And talk about a thriving mayor, a thriving community, and getting people on board. And one of the things, I think you didn't mention it, but it's the sense of contribution. It's the sense of making a difference to not only your community, but people's lives is incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
We had people that actually were working from home, and they had a regular shift on a Friday, and they had told their employer that, I'm going to take Fridays off. And they thought, oh, great, you're going to go to the cottage. And they said, no, I'm volunteering at a clinic. Yeah. And they said, okay, you're not taking vacation time. We'll give you the time off. And if they need more volunteers, we'll send them. So people from every walks got in behind this. It was beautiful to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. So, Steve, thank you very much. We're just over a half an hour. It's wonderful chatting with you. You're an amazing example of someone who's could take that leadership role in the community and get other people inspired, and thrive yourself, and lead a thriving community, and all of the initiatives that you do as well. Are there any last thoughts or words that you'd like to share with us before we sign up?
As I said, shop local for everybody and volunteer, get involved in your community. You'd be shocked what you can achieve if you just try. And Michael, Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I would welcome a follow-up anytime.
Oh, that's amazing. And thank you for your gracious service to your community and to all of us. It certainly is inspiring.
Very rewarding. I would strongly encourage anybody who's thought of public service to try it, get involved.
Oh, great words. And can they have your home number to call?
Sure.
We'll put that in the show notes, or go to stevepellegrini.com.
That's right.
Yeah, and subscribe to his newsletter.
Beautiful.
So thank you very much, everybody. Stay tuned next week. I think it's going to be Natasha Kulikinski from Innovate, who will be our next thriving mayor. And just like to thank everybody for tuning in, and thanks, Steve. Please remember to like, share, subscribe to the show as we can build up our viewership and share and convey the amazing stories of our thriving mayors. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining the Thriving Mayor Show. Make sure to like and share and tell your friends and colleagues. Mayors are awesome and are the change agents to enhance the quality of living for over 80% of us. Remember what Coach Wooden said, you cannot live a perfect day without doing something for someone who can never repay you. Much love and peace. Until next time.